Good morning to you all and welcome here. This morning we are delighted to welcome you today to talk about the Watch and Jewellery Initiative 2030, founded in October 2021 by Cartier, delegated by Richemont and Kering. And the idea was to bring together watch and jewelry global players committing to a common core of key sustainability goals. To talk about it this morning, I'm delighted to have two guests. The first of them is Marie-Claire Daveux, Chief Sustainability and Institutional Affairs Officer at Kering. To make a little summarize of your career, you were technical advisor to the cabinet of Prime Minister Jean-Pierre Raffarin before becoming Principal Private Secretary to Serge Lepelletier, Minister of Ecology and Sustainability. And in 2005, you became Director of Sustainable Development for the Sanofi Aventis Group. From 2007 to 2012, you served as Chief of Staff to French politician Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet, working in various Secretaries of State and then at the Ministries of Ecology, Sustainability, Transport and Housing. Welcome, Marie-Claire Daveux.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Very pleased to be with you this morning.
Thank you for being with us. And next to you today is Cyril Vigneron, President and CEO of Cartier International. You are as well a board director and a member of the Senior Executive Committee of the Richemont Group since 2016. You were before President of LVMH Japan and worked from Richemont from 1988 to 2013, rising to become Managing Director of Cartier Japan, President of Richemont Japan, and finally Managing Director of Cartier Europe. Good morning, Cyril.
Good morning.
So we're very happy to be together this morning to talk about this initiative founded 6 months ago. So it's kind of new, we can say so. First of all, before starting to get deeper into this initiative, I would like to go back to the purpose. Why has this initiative been created?
This initiative has been created in watch and jewelry, but it's not the first one, the luxury, and that's one we teamed up with Kering, who has been proactive with the Fashion Pact. What we have seen all across the industry is increasing concerns from everywhere, meaning from the civil society, from employees, from customers, from shareholders, about environment issues, about societal issues, and to make sure that all members of the profession are clearly committed on this one. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you come to these kind of societal or environmental, you cannot do anything alone. If you join some kind of standard like the Science Based Target Initiative, you have to commit on the entire supply chain. Meaning you have to not to do what is on your own premises, called Scope 1 and 2, but everything comes before you, meaning basically from the mine to the store. You cannot do that alone. Mm-hmm. Not only that you have to have all the vertical process involved, but all of these are dealing with multiple clients who must have similar goals or similar attitudes. When we talk to our suppliers in Italy, they say that they have 13 corporate social responsibility audit a year by different clients for the same thing, but not exactly aligned. So we need to align, we need to work together. And that's why this initiative took sense to say, let's invite all the profession, basically all the brands that count in the world, and not only the European one, and all the first-tier suppliers, but basically everyone to work on similar goals. Very simple.
Common line, that is the key word. And why did you decide to pair with Kering and Kering to pair with Cartier?
So I would say, first, because Kering had been proactive in the Fashion Pact and had more experience, but maybe you can say more.
So perhaps to answer first your question, at Kering, we think that if we want to tackle the most important issue of our century, so I think about climate change, loss of biodiversity, resource scarcity, even if you are a big player, you can't do it alone. Mm-hmm. So you need really to work closely with your own industry and, as mentioned by Cyril, also your suppliers. So that's why in 2019, first for our fashion brand, we put in place what we call the Fashion Pact. And I think it's also very interesting to see that only after a few years, we are able to have now more than 250 brands which are really engaged on climate change, biodiversity, protection of oceans. And what's also very interesting is to say, if you want to change a paradigm, you need really to have a proactive approach. You need to have cross-fertilization, and you need also to be able to find solutions that you can put at scale. Because one of the major also issue we have in sustainability, you have many, many solutions. They are at the level of pilot projects, but it won't change anything for the planet and for the people if you are not able to put at scale. And I think the collective approach that we are putting in place with Cartier will change the same thing for the watches and the jewelry world. And only one word, why with Cartier? It was obvious. So it was obvious, and we are very proud and very happy to have this collaboration. And I'm really, I trust that we can change really on the ground the thing. So very happy.
Marie-Claire, can we say maybe that this Fashion Pact that was created in 2019 was a trigger for Kering to say, okay, let's do something together because we've seen that this is working. We have to duplicate it and do it again on another field.
Exactly, and I hope that we can share also our experience with the Fashion Pact and to put this experience inside this new coalition. For example, at Kering, we work a lot about regenerative agriculture. You can imagine that to do that alone, even at the level of Kering, it's quite challenging. If we can have brands like Hermes, Nike, Adidas, Inditex, it's very useful. So we want really to put in place the same thing. And Cartier is also really involved in sustainability. I don't want to speak for Cartier, but I think we can do really great projects.
You have a little bit of looking back now because 2019 was 3 years ago. What would you say? How did it work? What can be done better? How did it help you seeing things going forward for the Initiative 2030?
A concrete example, we can do together collective purchasing. And we can put in place a collective platform for raw materials. And same thing in watches and jewelry, raw materials are key when you are thinking about biodiversity, ecosystems and things like that. If you are able to buy, for example, together green energy, renewable energy, it's great for volume, it's great for pricing, and again, you put at scale.
Cyril, so we've heard it. There's really something about working together. What is the concrete mission of this Initiative 2030? We've heard the goals. There are 3 main goals. What are the other things you want to achieve?
Well, as far as everyone stick to these goals, which are quite simple, linked to environment and societal biodiversity. And we say there can be some existing norms, and I mentioned the science-based target initiatives. There are others, like, for instance, B Corp certification, which are quite clear. When it comes to certification also for premises, there is a well-known LEED certification, which is quite clear as well. So we don't want to invent new norms, but just take those that exist and encourage everyone to commit to this one. Mm-hmm. If you commit to Science-Based Target Initiative and to net zero, it's quite a strong commitment that you have to record first to understand what is your carbon footprint. Then you have to understand how you can leverage it and to commit on some reduction in 10 years. And you have to report on that and be accountable for it. So the first part of the initiative is to adopt some standards, and we had the Code of Practice of the Responsible Jewelry Council. You will talk about that later. Yes. Science-Based Target Initiative or equivalent, and we ask all the members to do it. As far as you do it, you have to commit on your entire supply chain and to act. So doing that, then we can go and see, and we started to go and see our suppliers in Switzerland or Italy and France, and to say what can we do together. And of course, we have to understand the network can be different. In Switzerland, the suppliers to watchmaking are usually rather large player, and they are really willing to do it as far as we do it consistently. In Italy, it's more family businesses, which are quite small, and so often don't even know how to do their own measuring of the carbon footprint. And what can be then the action they can take concretely on their side, knowing that they are basically between their own suppliers and then with the clients on the other side. So all together have to work. So it's both education, technology, research, energy, common purchases, and all that can work if we act collectively. So we have started to take some concrete action in Switzerland and Italy in there, and we invite them to join.
So when we listen to you, we have this feeling that everybody was doing things, but a bit on their own. So there was the need of a boost for the whole industry to work together. Did you have the feeling that such an initiative was mandatory, was necessary?
I would say yes. And everyone we talk to say, we understand what you want to do and we support it. We want to understand how it can work concretely, but there's no one saying what you do is crazy. It's say, on the contrary, it's good to take that initiative and we think it's mandatory. And everyone's feel concerned and everyone has started something in their own way. It's a good news. There's no one to say we're not interested and we have not done anything we don't want to do. But some say we prefer to do on our own. We are not used to communicate. We are not used to transparency. We have taken our own action. But in these things, we need transparency, we need trust, and we need to have common standard. Otherwise, we're very difficult. But the good news is everyone say, we understand and we mentally support. Now we say, okay, do a little more. And many are, I think, close to it because we have to have a common commitment which is visible.
Marie-Claire?
No, only one thing to add, it's also the fact that people and companies have understood if we want to find also innovative solutions and perhaps disruptive solutions, again, no one can do it alone. So that's why to create a specific ecosystem around this kind of coalition, we have a great feedback. And it's the same thing when we speak with other companies in this sector. Everyone is saying that it's a great initiative. They are really supportive of what we want to implement and fully agree. I don't know if it's mandatory because mandatory it's very strong, but it's a necessity and it's not something optional. And also companies understand that sustainability now it's a request from customers, from clients, but also from the financial world. So you have a kind of matrix approach in this kind of thing. Again, it's obvious, no choice. We have to go and to go again quite quickly.
What is really interesting, you mentioned one word. You were talking about transparency, and this means competitors are going to work together in one initiative. This is kind of rare in the field, isn't it?
For Kering, because we start with the Fashion Pact, and thanks to our chairman and CEO, François-Henri Pinault, it's very clear. When I joined the company in 2012, he told me that I don't want to implement sustainability for competitive advantage. I think that it's my responsibility on the ethical point of view, and it's also good for the business. That's why, by the past, we start in 2015. We put open source our methodology for EPNL, our Kering standard. You can have access through our website. So it's really in the DNA of the group. So we are very happy now to have our colleagues to do the same approach. So it's great. No competition.
Cyril.
Well, I would say first, nature is a common problem. Human rights is a common problem. Women empowerment is a common problem. So on that, we all have to cooperate. On all companies and all individuals, everyone is responsible and accountable for it. Everyone should feel. And that goes beyond competition. And the second thing I say, we are today, in Watches and Wonders, where we have a large part of the Swiss industry, we all compete, but we're all here together, that we know we can cooperate when it's for common good. So let's do it even more.
That's nice to hear. So you set a goal, 2030. This is actually really close by. If you're thinking about it, it's only 8 years. Does that mean there was a rush, a need to do something right now? Why this goal of 2030?
Well, I can comment with the Paris Agreement 2015. It says if we want to limit the warming on the planet to 1.5 degrees, we really have to act fast. It might be even already too late. And the COP26 in Glasgow say we are behind the agenda. So we really have to start early. Every year that we lose to start makes the goal to achieve more difficult. And fortunately for watch and jewelry, it's not as complicated as it looks. because the supply chain are rather short. Of course, there are some questions with gold, some question with diamond, question with stones, but for the rest, we make products that do not need so much energy. We make products that the end of life is quite easy. They can be reusable, repairable, and you don't have to spend a lot of energy to just clean what you have created. If we can go to a kind of clean supply chain, clean mind, and so forth, things will be fine. When we have worked on our own scope 1 and 2 on going to clean energy, we have reached our goals within 1 year. So now 99% of our carbon footprint is on the supply chain. It is achievable and faster than we think if we all do it together. Some other sectors have more difficulty and more difficult transition, but making watches doesn't require so much resource. So we can do it.
Very clear.
Alors, again, I think what is making the big difference, it's also how much now we understand what the experts and the scientists are sharing. If you think about climate change, the GIEC is saying that we have less than 10 years. If we think about nature and biodiversity, IBES is sharing the same number of years. So 10 years, you can say that it's a lot, but you imagine when you have to change, to implement new processes and new things inside the company, and again, not only saying I do a capsule collections or I have a pilot project, but really to have a 360 approach, it's really the time to go. And after something in our industry, without the suppliers, we can't do anything. So
it's a chain.
Yes, it's a long chain, and you have to go until the raw materials. So that's why also it's time to go, it's time to implement, it's time to change the thing. And we will be very strong if we are working together. Also to have this conversation with the suppliers. So it's really no optional.
So 6 months after the launch, where would you say you are right now?
So
No. First, we will be very happy to share the fact that we have some colleagues from other companies which have decided to join the initiative. So it's great.
And which are they? Can you tell us? Surprise!
So we have Chanel Horlogerie and Jewellery. We have Montblanc. We have Rosy Blue. And we have Swarovski. And unfortunately, I can't disclose all the other companies, but others will come. So we are very happy.
It's a teaser, Marie-Claire.
Yes, and others who say they were supportive, not ready to sign off now because they want to make sure they're in commitment. Also wanted to show what happened with the Responsible Jewelry Council. But we have a kind of a large lineup of those who are very close.
So yeah, let's get back to the topic. You just mentioned it, the RJC situation. So can you tell us, summarize in a few words, what happened and what's going to go on now that the situation has quite changed?
Yes, so first of all, the two pillars of the initiative, as it was Science-Based Target Initiative or equivalent, and the Code of Practice of Responsible Jewelry Council. It was founded 15 years ago, and we were founding members. And from 15 members, it grew to 1,600 members throughout the profession, and has been a very nice and good platform to talk, to share, and to define a code of practice who have proved to be quite solid, meaning can be audited and certified. But with what happened recently, with the war starting, then with some members being really linked to a state which is in war, then the diamonds coming to the supply chain come to be conflict diamonds. And if we want to stick to the very principle, we ask the Responsible Jewelry Council to suspend the members who can be involved in that, directly or indirectly, which is the very principle of the Responsible Jewelry Council. And that's why it can be audited and certified. But if a big part cannot be certified, what is the purpose? So as board members, we asked, and many of our colleagues in Richemont are board members, we asked specifically to the Responsible Jewelry Council to suspend an important Russian player, and no decision could be made. I mean, we had no choice in order to stay true to the very principle of the RJC to step down, including the executive director, Iris van der Wecken, who had to do the same for the same reasons. So we hope the RJC can be refounded on its own very principle and then that we can remake it together, because it has proven in 15 years to be a very, very strong platform. So it was really sad to have no other option than taking this decision. But now we anyway have the occasion now to call all the initiative, maybe through the Watch and Jewellery Initiative, or maybe through a refoundation of the RJC, to stick to those very principles of chain of custody, of responsible supply, and on human rights preservation, and no conflict diamonds.
Does that mean, in a way, because your initiative was linked to the Responsible Jewelry Council, basically, does that mean today that the split, if I can say so, can put your initiative at danger?
Not really. It can put something a little more difficult in practice, because we wanted anyway to have one condition to apply for the RJC who that were not members and to be certified. But anyway, the RJC cannot certify anyone now, and the auditors have also stepped down from it. So we just have to find another body doing the same thing.
Okay.
But as many of the members, I think, follow the same principle and will be happy to do it, then it would be not so long, I think, to recreate something similar.
Do you think it's something feasible in not too long?
I think so. And the hope remains anyway that the RJC comes back to its own principle and we can refound it from within. It would be even better.
Okay, so the consequences, let's say, are not too bad.
We don't know yet.
We hope.
We hope, but we have a lot of hope. But anyway, we know that there are a lot of goodwill in there, and everything has been created in 15 years still exists. We just have to find a different body and a different governance. That's easier than to recreate everything from scratch.
Marie-Claire.
No, perhaps what I would like to share, because also the Kering brands have resigned, it's the fact that you have to be coherent. So if you push some values, if you push a mindset, when something happens, it's really the time also to make the right decision. So that's why we were sharing the same approach. And after, I'm very confident about the initiative, because I have the feeling that around this initiative you have a good energy. So, of course, we have to be honest, it will be perhaps a little bit more complex, but in the sustainability field, we like the complexity. So
Nothing is easy.
I'm sure we will find some solutions. But again, if you are not coherent with your value, you can't implement technical sustainability solutions. It's a question of level.
And probably this will force full transparency through the entire supply chain, even in areas which were not possible. So maybe this crisis will have kind of positive outcome.
Exactly.
That we can come to something much clearer from.
Let's take a look at the general situation right now with the Initiative 2030. What are your next challenges? Where do you want to head to?
Well, the next challenge is to know what happens with the RJC and to know whether we can reform and change the governance or whether we have to rebuild something else. And then to see with the members who are already close to the initiative to join it so that we have kind of a more, I think, visible collective power. So we'll encourage all those who are close to join us to give their voice.
So who would you like to call? I'm not saying don't give names, that's okay, but in what field would you like to go?
Had some discussion with the big players of the industry in Europe and in Asia as well, and they are very close. So we start from there, and we say the big brands, those who count for the largest part of the gold or diamond supply, and then the key suppliers in the middle, like Rosie Blue, who is here today, and they have an important part to play on this part of the middle part of the supply chain. So we need to, and then of course those who are heavily involved in mining.
Mm-hmm. But it means this is the whole supply chain. This is the big players. This is the small players. This is everybody actually who can join.
So we need to have the big players to have the critical mass. And then we have to support the small one who don't have the critical resource to do it. It's a two angles.
Mm-hmm. Marie-Claire?
Yes, and in addition, for me, what is very important, it's also the geographical approach. Because this kind of initiative sets the trends. And when we are thinking above all for the environmental side, the climate change, it's really important to think that greenhouse gas emission, wherever they are coming, they have an impact. So it's also a way for us to engage people in the different parties of the world. So it's very important. and after also for suppliers. So I will say, if Cyril agrees on it, but everyone who wants really to implement concretely and not doing sustainability washing or greenwashing, they are more than welcome. But after, they have really to implement inside their companies.
And that's a very important point.
They have to commit and they have to deliver.
Okay, that's my next question then. Some companies may not be ready to do that. They maybe want to do it, but they don't have the forces to do it yet. Can you support them?
Yes.
That's very clear. Meaning, how will you do that?
Well, in some way, if you commit on your own carbon emission offset, you have to buy carbon credits, which are quite expensive if you want to be the sequestration one. And this gives you in some way some kind of money that if you help them to change their whole energy and pollution environment, then they would reduce their own footprint, which reduce yours, and so they don't have to offset. So the carbon credit market in some way makes a provision to help everyone to work on it and to reduce it. Because it's one thing to offset and one thing to reduce. And the small players are quite ready to do it as far as all the big ones follow the same attitude.
And what happens if you're a company and you join the initiative and suddenly you realize that you fail in implementing the commitments? What happens?
Well, it depends on how you fail. Meaning, it's a learning process. Everyone has to learn how to make progress into it. And that's the important part. If you fail because you're not serious, because you're dishonest, that's the problem. If you fail because you find some unexpected problem, then we have to find how to solve them together. We don't have all the answers, and we should not think that we should only move when we have all the answers,
right,
because we don't know what we don't know. We have to learn in process.
And the worst will be doing anything. So I think even if we are not successful on everything, we are making some progresses. And based also on the experience of the Fashion Pact, we see how the biggest players can support and can help very concretely the smallest one. So it's something very concrete again.
And for those who are a bit concerned and say we don't know where it takes, what will be the commitment, in some way there is something very simple. The sequestration credit used to be about $20. And in the carrying EPNL, they are now at €84. But probably in 5 years from now, there will be 150 because it's more and more difficult to offset what we create. So those who step now can reduce their carbon footprint quickly at cheap cost. The longer they wait, the bill will be really, really enormously high. So the longer you wait, the harder it becomes.
Well, this is a good message. You hear it. So if you want to join, that's the moment. Raise your hand. I'm joking. So, no, this is actually a message you're sending. Come, join us. Let's work together. We can do something good. And maybe we can talk again in, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, and we'll see where you're at.
5 months.
5 months. Perfect. I like that. This is ambitious.
Don't forget, we have less than 10 years, so we'll come back before.
We will be back. We will be back. So if I can summarize in 3 words, it would be collaboration, togetherness, and collective action. Anything to add?
Perfect.
Parfait. Okay, so thank you very much for being with us today and for sharing your point of view about this initiative. Of course, we wish it a lot of success, and we hope that you're going to be able to reach these goals, but I'm pretty sure you will. We'll talk about it maybe next year because, okay, 5 months I'm here, but the fair is not open. So
Absolutely.
And now, since we are together, there is a very important mission, and this is actually the official founding of the association hosting the Watch and Jewellery Initiative 2030. So let's go to the table.
And to sign.
And to sign, of course. So are you ready? Yes, perfect. Let's move to the tables. So you have all the documents and the pen is working. This is the most important. It's done. I've heard it. Marie-Claire, Cyril, thank you very much. And I think it's a round of applause. Can we get that? Yes. Thank you very much. And a lot of success to the initiative 2030.